What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Friday, Junior. Stock market's closed, at least the traditional stock market. I believe the Forex market's still open today. Not too much movement out of Bitcoin, to be honest. Had a little bit of a drop earlier, but pretty much where we've been. Just kind of getting set up here. Welcome in, welcome in. Okay. Get cooking here in a second. Let's see. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, who we got in here today? The All-Time Highness. That is quite the name. I actually really like that. It's funny. All right. Get to see my handsome mug today, so I hope you guys don't mind. All right, 2 o'clock. Let's just get after it here. So, yeah. So where we left off yesterday, I'd like to say we're in this realm here, right? We kind of just came down, kind of made this little low here, and got a little bit of a bounce back up. We were looking to see if we reclaim some ground, essentially. For a move back to the upside, right? So, and then, just kind of zooming out, looking at how everything has progressed, when you're looking at just the current price action, we're going to get to some altcoins here in a bit. So it's not just going to be all boring Bitcoin, right? But, Bitcoin is the pulse of the market. So it's definitely, at the end of the day, it's really, the main one you want to be tracking and aware of, and kind of understand, how it can possibly and potentially move. Because, when Bitcoin sneezes, the altcoins catch a cold, right? Is pretty much the saying, right? When you get that small pullback in Bitcoin, it's like the alts just melt and jump out of windows, it appears. All right. I'm streaming this across multiple platforms, by the way. So hello, everybody on TikTok. If you guys don't mind hitting the likes on there, it'd be great to kind of get the views up. YouTube, Twitter, everybody welcome. If there's anything anybody would like to take a look at, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Like I said, we're going to take a look at some altcoins here in a minute. But just kind of wanted to give a little overview here. So like really, simple stuff here as far as Bitcoin would go. We're basically trading at the range lows, right? So we were just pull a simple range, for this region of the price, ever since we pretty much broke into it. And I'll go ahead and make a little cleaner range here for you. You can see we're easily, simply just trading at the lows, right? We've done that several times. Can we wick, a little bit lower here, or even drop a little bit lower? We absolutely can, right? Starting off this quarter, we had a new high time frame average of price that we need to be aware of, which is a simple mean reversion. At the end of the day, I like to compare it to like the 50-day or the 200-day 21 EMA. Like you'll hear a lot of traders or anybody, analysts, just talking about those levels, and that's where the price will tend to retrace to quite often, right? And their average is a price at the end of the day. Same thing goes per, quarter, 6 month, year, day, month, week. We always have an average of price for that previous time frame. And it's just something to just note that is highly probable that we will come down to, right? So, or up to, depending on where the price action ends up lying. For the first quarter of this year, that level is essentially right here. All right. So at some point, I imagine we make our way down to at least 86, 87,000. Does not have to be right now though, right? So we talked about this yesterday as well, where, we've trading around these lows. We obviously got that push to the upside, which was pretty much a nice, just gold pocket retracement. Rejection from there, back to the range low. Had a couple of things here, right? And we do technically still have our previous week low, which is right here. So, could we come down and kind of sweep that and get the run back up? We could, but you can't get too bearish at support, right? It's just the only thing I want to point out. So it's just kind of compartmentalizing everything, is that, can Bitcoin come down lower to 86,000, and does it have a reason? It sure does. On the flip side of that, we're at support right now. All right. And we can very easily at least run the range back to the upside, maybe back to the point of control, right? So this is the highest area of traded volume that we tend to retrace to quite a bit, as long as we were within that region. So that level currently sits at $98,000, the point of control for the current overall range, right? So that's something to be aware of here. And then, of course, if we were to eventually rotate this up and get the break here, 104 is a big level at the moment. And then obviously we got the all-time high. So that's pretty much the overall breakdown of Bitcoin, really simply. Okay. The next major key level down below us does sit at 86, 87,000. You could almost just kind of map it out, with these lows over here, I suppose. But if we lose where we're at now, that's really where the next major area I'd be looking for would be. And I do imagine we'd get a sizable bounce from here. All right. And imagining that we get a move down to there, looking at this in the sense of just almost what happened to us in October, right? Just kind of zooming back really quickly. Let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit. This was it right here. Just a really good example of, what we could see as well, right? You tend to get these nice little moves, and then you get these ABC corrections, right? Where you get that little impulse wave back up, you get that one last little move down, kind of takes out the lows here, right? Gets everybody nice and scared. And then you do get the run back up, right? So I'm just kind of prefacing for if we do just kind of continue lower from here, this is a big area that I wouldn't overlook. I wouldn't think that we're going straight to 77 and fill in the CME gap or anything like that. And at the moment, like I said, can't get too bearish because we are at support. So very well could see the move here. But if we were to see that breakdown, we do have a potential little ABC, right, into that region there. And then I'd be looking for a pretty sizable move back up. So with that being said, between where we are right now and 6 to 7%, let's just call it 8%. In this 8% little window, I imagine we'll see yet again another little bounce out of Bitcoin, right? Whether we make a new all-time high is debatable. But we probably see at least, come back up to 104 and kind of have to reevaluate as we go, right? So I think that if the local low is not in, just, before we run it back up, it's 6 to 8% away, or at least it could be, I guess. But this is a big area. So regardless, right, if we come down to it and we don't just get a, straight rocket back to all-time highs, I do imagine we at least see a pretty sizable bounce there. So I guess that's the overall idea there. All right. Okay. Ethereum, same deal, kind of similar to just in general, I guess, the overall market today. We've got the stock market is closed, which doesn't necessarily always, I mean, as of recent, I guess it does mean a little bit more, right? We've got the ETFs and all these things in play now, and obviously the institutions play a major role. But like I said, the Forex market is still open, things like that. So it's not necessarily just a completely dead day, but so far it has appeared to be a pretty dead day, right? So it's almost like trading on a Saturday. We're pretty much dead flat to where we were yesterday, right? So like I said, we'll probably see how things kind of unfold, but we are same as Bitcoin, right? Kind of putting in a potential here. This is not anything I can marry or you should marry either. I'll even actually just go ahead and take it off. But we had the same scenario here on ETH where we basically ran it up right to our gold pocket, got a pull back here. Personally, I'll be honest, I did think we were going to at least push up to that region at the time. We did not, right? So Bitcoin and ETH both simultaneously caught the reversal right at their local gold pockets. And once again, that's derived from this high to this low, right? And then we slowly took the stairs up, elevator down as usual. And yeah, so at the moment, seeing if we're kind of catching the bottom here, at least locally, for at least another run back towards maybe that 3,800 and kind of reevaluate as we go from there. Same idea here as Bitcoin is that if we, lose the current level, which mind you, those high time frame averages, nice example right here. So ETH has actually come down and managed to hit the quarterly average, right? So that was a big target for us for this quarter. And the price action for ETH compared to Bitcoin, though, is a little bit more tighter for the last quarter. So the average obviously is going to be a little bit lower or a little bit closer to the current price action. So we've already hit that for ETH. And it's just one of those times where, unfortunately, we got to always be managing ourselves against Bitcoin, right? Because even though ETH has come down to that key level where, ideally we'd see a little bounce from, which we still may. Like I said, I think that this is, not something we should overlook, that we are at the range lows. You've come down, you've taken yesterday's low. And I talked about that yesterday as well, right? So where one thing that it's a really good example. So we'll pull this up really quick. Yeah, we'll go down a little bit lower. So yesterday we came down, made our low, got this pretty decent little bounce here, right, which was pretty sizable. 3%. I know that's not incredibly sizable, but at the time when you're just continually going down and get a little relief bounce, it seems, a little nice. And one thing I was pointing out is that this was about this time yesterday, so 2 or 3, maybe 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Eastern, where, mind you, the daily close occurs at 7 p.m. Eastern time right now, right? So I was noting that, it'd make me a little nervous trying to enter something this late in the day, because even though you get this nice little move here and we could have just continued on, you run the risk of most people probably getting into a new long trade. Anybody's, trading with leverage, of course, not just buying spot, essentially. Bull Runner in 76, how you doing? And you get this low midday, almost the end of the day. You get this little breach back up into the area here. And let me turn off some of this so it's just like really clear here what I'm trying to show. So really it's just the low from yesterday. You probably had so many new traders, and not new traders to the space, but just, anybody that was coming in with a new position that, probably got stopped out, comes back in, right, wanting to get that long if they're going to try to get one. And where are they coming in? They're probably coming in right here once they see that, prices kind of bounced up. Maybe we've gotten a little local gold pocket. Let's just see if we got it. We did not. Technically, we got it right there. Right, so scoot that over. Right, you had a nice little gold pocket, retracement there. So, and when the price kind of sat there for, rest of the day into the night. So I'd imagine many people probably came in, longs in this region, stop loss just below the low. And then I noted yesterday that I would make you, a little nervous almost, because generally when you get that the next night, daily close comes, Asia session starts, and then you come down and you'll sweep that low, right, and then come in for the move up. So, so far that's what we did today. Granted, we haven't gotten an extreme move up. We actually are trading pretty much back down at those lows again. So now tomorrow, when the stock market and everything else reopens, now you run the risk of this low getting ran, right? And then maybe we get that move to the upside. So at any moment, there's this market's just looking to sweep lows and highs and liquidate all those that are trying to get in there. Molly May, how are you? All right, so Bitcoin, like I said, a couple key areas to be aware of. Pretty much, within the 8%, 6 to 8% of where we are right now, I think is where we'll see at least a sizable little bounce. ETH is at a key level right now, right? So we had, sizable correction here, pretty much given back all this move that took, a couple weeks to get through. This is about a 20% move to the upside, right? And then it's already given back a good amount of that, right? So 15%. Really looking to hold this 32.53, right? That's really what I'd like to see held. So far, doing an okay job. Like I said, I'm kind of going to see how things kind of shape up for the end of the day today, and we will view it tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, though, so it's just one of those things where every day, poses a new hurdle, I guess, right? So, on Sundays and a Monday, we got the previous week range to work off of. On Tuesday, you got the Monday range to kind of go off of. And then, throughout the week, some things start becoming a little less relevant. Friday comes around, it's a little different depending on how it is. And then you got to see how things go over the weekend, and then you restart the whole game again next week. So, in theory, I'm looking for, this area to kind of hold. And like I said, get a little bounce back, from where we are now on ETH to about 3,800. That's my next major little area. I do actually anticipate that to probably take like 2 or 3 weeks, though, right? So that's the not so sexy part, because while we once again took the stairs up and elevator down, which this took all of about 1.5 days to drop 14%. I would say it would take us about 2 to 3 more weeks to get a 18% push, right? So we'll see how it goes. So see how the remainder of this month kind of plays out. I know yesterday Crusader and I were doing a live stream, and somebody had brought up a couple things. And I guess I want to touch on the news around us today, right? So I'm not a news guy by any means, in the sense of like, I don't heavily put it into my analysis. I just feel like, the same news catalyst can be viewed both ways, and what I mean by that is like, news can drop today and it'll be something that seems so, okay, perfect example, USDT getting delisted from Binance or from Europe on December 31st, right? That was such a scary news tactic, or not tactic, but a news catalyst that I feel like kind of rattled everybody up for a few days. Nothing happened in the market, right? Had that happened here, that would have been the reason behind it, right? So it's just, I don't know. It's just sometimes the news is just kind of there. I will say it's partnered a lot of the times with, some of these moves. So, kudos to the market makers in that regard. But yeah, right now you got such fear going around for the what is the U.S. selling, right? And then there's already like half a dozen articles about that getting debunked or this or that. And any time that those articles start circulating, I just look at how much volume goes into Bitcoin daily trading, right? It's like 40 or 50 billion dollars every 24 hours. And Michael Saylor buying $100 million or selling $100 million, or really only BlackRock and some of these big boys could probably only truly rattle some numbers here. But aside from that, and even if you probably dumped $6 billion on the open market, I mean, 10%, 5-10% move, may come from that. It's not going to dump the market, 50%. But yeah. All right. Anyways, the news today, that was, I just put a little something on the thumbnail. But yeah, I think that the U.S. selling thing is just kind of a nothing burger. We'll see how it all unfolds there. XRP has pretty much just been remaining pretty flat here. I just wanted to kind of, once again, just a little update, almost picking up just where we left off yesterday. This potential pattern here is just something that more so I'm just like kind of identifying for if we were to see a quick move to something like $3, $3.15, $3.18. This would probably be an area where, I'd be a little cautious, as people would probably really get excited thinking that, we just broke $3, we're probably going for the all-time high, what have you. But I had also noted that, let's go ahead and pull this up. Looking at this in the form of literally just a simple little channel. Bull flag, I guess you could look at it as, even, but you got the potential to come back down to, the bottom of this trend. And at that is stacked with this level right here, 179. So it's not a like end all be all. If we came down, I don't know if necessarily that'd be like the number one spot where that's just the all time next lowest level XRP would ever get to. But I do imagine that we're going to make it down to 179 for XRP in the foreseeable, right? So like whether that's this quarter, next coming months, I bring that up more so for the idea of anybody. Two things: if you've been waiting to get into XRP, maybe if you sold and you're looking to get back in, whatever the case may be, or if you just see the price action push high, because I still imagine even if we pushed up to like 3+, that we would make our way down to the 179. So whether we come down first or we go up and then down, 179 would be the area that I at least look for if I was looking for a beginning point for like a DCA strategy, right? So, and that's just with the idea that we have, just like I said, just highly probable areas that we come back to within, I would say, the first 6 months of this year. It's not a huge drop, by the way, from where we're at. So, I mean, it's not like it'd be super uncommon. It's 21%. It's just below all the lows. I mean, it makes all the sense, right? To just kind of range around in this region, right? And then just come down here, stop out everybody, and then run it back a bit. And then vice versa, right? If we were to actually see a pump come up, kind of take out the high, breakout traders enter, everybody's excited, all the good things, $10, $5, $5.89. And then you get that, then you get a decent pullback out of that. That's the bigger pain, right? Would be if we actually shoot up higher and then come down to that level. But yeah, nothing really changed there. It's pretty much trending around. The key level I'd look for a flip to get to that $3 plus is going to be at 256. Until then, pretty much just ranging around. We might just grind lower to that 179 from here. Do I think there's going to be a Trump rally in crypto? So at the moment, like I said, whether we drop to 86-ish, for Bitcoin, I do see us pumping back up 104, new all-time high, 110, whatever that means. I think that we have another little push up in us, potentially, I guess. But the Trump rally idea, I really like to put a lot of caution around a few things this year, right? So, we got the 2025, where if anybody that has been in the crypto market for more than, I guess, 5 minutes at this point, like everybody's really, really married to the 4-year cycle. to the point where like anybody that I meet, anybody that that ever finds out I do this for all day, they immediately say, what crypto should I buy? Because Trump is about to become president and everything's about to take off. And then the bull run's going to end this year. Like that's the like normal conversation I run into with a total stranger at this point. So the equivalent of when people used to say when you're barber and all these, and not to say that a barber shouldn't be investing, but just somebody who's not looking at things every single day, and then they kind of come in at a later time or when things are already, exploded. Going on a tangent. The thing I'd like to point out is that 2025, if there was ever a year where everybody was going to diamond hand everything and probably never consider, a major pullback, it's going to be this year. And everybody expects, January 20th to come in and the markets just to all explode to the upside. And while I do have a higher view that, the overall markets, all of them, right, stock market, crypto, housing, will see continual, upside over the next coming years here, I would urge caution that we may actually be setting up for quite a pullback in the first few months here of this year. And I'm talking like 40-50% Bitcoin drop. So, that's the kind of like thing that I'm at least somewhat just being cautious about, right? So I'm not getting too excited, not getting too, bearish either, like just kind of just playing the game as usual. And I think that everybody is really, really, really hoping at least for even at, the 20th is going to come and we may see a rally around there. Like, I don't not think that we will see some movements up here. And the timing of that does kind of, line up. Actually, one thing I'll point out here with ETH. So Ethereum is actually one thing that one asset that I base a lot of my thesis around. So this is actually last year, around this time in March, when we were coming up, we had $70,000 Bitcoin, we had $4,000 ETH. I actually ended up selling 75% of everything I had, and I'm not even at the high, like before we got to 4K, because ETH had a really big setup for a potential 50% pullback, and it was right here. All right. It was this as we came into it, something that, was kind of setting up for like 2 years. From 2022 to 2024. Yeah. So 2 years this was setting up. This pattern, very bearish, has a couple of major targets, one of which being the 382, which was right here. We got a bounce from there. But ultimately it's the B point, right? Which is where you can see we made our way down there after like 6 months. So 50% retracement. The altcoins got destroyed in that time, probably several times over. Bitcoin actually only pulled back like 30-40%. I think it was 70K Bitcoin to like 48, right? And then from there, this is where I re-entered. So it was a hard task. There's a lot of emotions, not really emotions, but, like at the time, like this is the height of the market. ETFs are coming. Everything's excited. The news is always so exciting at the highs. And obviously, the Bank of Japan and everything gets all, crazy down here at the lows. So everybody wants to diamond hand here, doesn't want to buy here. And then here we are again, right? In theory, we're kind of setting up for something a little bit similar like that, maybe on a smaller scale. But yeah, and then just if you look around, you got like very exciting, minus the like 2-day news with the the current selling and whatever. But aside from that, you got the most pro Bitcoin president coming in. Everything like lines up for just this year to be super explosive, which I don't disagree it will be at some point. But I just want to urge the caution that we may see some pretty decent corrections here first. And for ETH, let's see here, this one right there. So once again, this is just a potential ordeal. But the timing of this, if we were to look at this to, if big ifs, this pattern is to complete, it pushes us back up like 18-20%. Like I said, it's going to potentially be around the 27th of January, right, based on fib time extensions. So that's right around, that 20th of January time. That's, meaning that we would see over the next coming weeks here, maybe a 20, 25, 30% push out of Ethereum. Obviously, that would mean Bitcoin pushes back up. The altcoins would obviously be doing well. And it all puts it around that time, 24th, 27th. Somebody also had mentioned, so I'm not, once again, not saying I'm a news guy, but I try to keep up with it a little bit. There's a, like a Mt. Gox unlock or something like an FTX. And that's another one. Mount Gox unlocks are always like something that pops up, when we're like at a low. So that's the thing too. Like right now we're at some local areas of main support, and you got some news articles, starting to come out. News is always scary at the low, always exciting at the high, right? Just remember that. And if we were to return to this region up here by the end of the month, everybody gets all excited once again. I don't know. This is just setting us up for. I do think that we are, whether it's within this region here or even up to like 4,400, that we run the risk of getting a really big pullback. And one thing for ETH is that 2,600 is a big level that I imagine we see in the next coming months. At least two. And not that that's a huge drop from where we are now. It's 20%. Let's see. We basically dropped that this week, so not a huge drop from here, but we were slowly make our way back up to 3,800 or 4,400, and then we caught a drop like that. Now you're talking a 30-40% pullback, and then obviously once again altcoins, everything gets all beat up with that stuff. So if we were to just fall from here first, cool, another 20%, make it 50 or whatever this would be total from the start to finish, about 30%. So almost a common retracement here. But yeah, I would say that it's more likely that we're probably putting in some local bottoms here. We get a bounce, back to some $3,800 ETH, 100-ish K Bitcoin. Just like I said, just kind of reevaluate there. But I'll just be really cautious around the Trump rally stuff, right? So not that I don't think overall we will go up. I just, and that's a really good example too, right? Like sorry to keep going back to Bitcoin. I'll get on to some alts here in a second. But, when you think about 2023, 2024, it seems like it's just been an only up scenario or an only up type of market. But there's been several times where this market was rough, right? Two of which being right here. This was a long time. This was 6 months. This was 6 to 8 months right there. I'm sure many of you remember this time period. Most probably don't remember this one. This was actually at the end of 2023, Q4. This was like peak. Everybody expected 2024 to be a depression. We thought that the stock market was about to crash, like all those things, right? And then what did you get? You got this huge move up, all right? And then another consolidation here. Looking back, simply, it just looks like a little bull flag consolidation, which it may have been. But you've gotten another impulse move once again, right? So if anything, we either range around in this region, just like we did here and here, maybe even pull back a little bit before we get that next leg up. But that's kind of what I envision, I guess, coming into the next coming months, where we might end the year, up here, maybe even higher than that. But in the beginning of the year, we might have some of this tomfoolery to go through, right? So, and I bring that up just to kind of keep everybody a little level-headed with it. But like also, if there's anyone out there that's been waiting to pick up anything, even if it's just Bitcoin, right? Like for me, I'm not buying $100,000 Bitcoin. I'm not going to buy buying $3,500 ETH when you think about maybe, depends on what you're targeting with it, maybe wouldn't be the end of the world, but some of these other altcoins, like things like Ondo and other ones that XRP, even probably not the first thing I'd jump into at $2.30, just on a risk management scale, right? Even if it's 179, I mean, that's still a better, discount than what it is today. And that'd be, a subtle, probably 30, 40 off the high. Yeah, 40% off the high. So something like that. But for me, I'm just always looking for big red days, and we always get a good couple of them every year, right? So no matter what, in the midst of a huge bull market, midst of a bear market, whatever the case is, you're always going to have a really big, and I'm talking like one of those big red days, like 30 and 40 and 50% down altcoins and like stuff like that, right? That's where I like to come in big, which the last time I did that was on September, I think. It was right here. So September 6th or 7th, right after this little big drop. And yeah, so, and once again, look to get out of the market at a little area where we might, where it may be more probable we get a pullback, look to re-enter. Once again, I know that everybody's not going to be constantly moving their entire holdings, and that's not necessarily, when you're investing long-term, you got to prepare to go through decades and wars and, all this stuff, right? You're not going to just be consistently pulling out your entire portfolio and, over 20 and 30% pullbacks potentially. But, there's many people in all different types of positions in their investing journey, I guess, right? So that's why I'm just pointing out these things, and you take that information for what it's worth. I'm just a guy on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok at the moment, and implement it to however that suits you or whatever the case is. But yeah, let's look at some altcoins. Do you have XLM? Oh, I forgot to do XLM update. I'm going to look at XLM right now, nice and fresh with you. Let's look at it. Oh, I did have okay. I think I pulled up the wrong chart yesterday. If you're the same person that asked yesterday, Bull Runner. It better be. It's my birthday. All right, happy birthday. Oh, on the 20th is your birthday. All right, so I think there's going to be a pump just for your birthday. Maybe not for Trump. Okay. All right, so XLM, XRP, them two boys, girls, whatever you want to call it, they run together a lot of times. What a move here, right? So you just had this huge range, similar to XRP, huge breakout, right? I was actually targeting this region, the macro 382, and then we had a monthly average here, and then after this, looking for essentially the one-to-one over, at some point over time. So now we're just probably looking at pullback potential. We've already gotten a pretty decent pullback here. Let's just go ahead and clear all this off. Take a look and see what we've got. So I will say, in same setting as looking at XRP, maybe down to like 179. Let's see what that would look like on XLM. All right, so not that this is a huge drop by any means, but definitely see a world where we come back to here. This is like the really high time frame average. This is for a quarter of the year, as well as like a 6-month period. So that's one right here. Aside from that, let's just take a look. I'm just seeing where like we could potentially pull back to first, and then we'll get some new price targets for above besides the one we just covered, that 79 cents area. All right. Okay, if I was looking at XLM, we're ways away from down here. Obviously, there's some more key regions down in that region, but I would say they're not relevant at the moment. This is how I'd probably play XLM in the near future here. Would be, probably get a little move down here locally to that. It's like I said, the yearly average, 6-month, quarterly, all that good stuff. And then from here, we got a local gold pocket coming in, basically right at a volume target. So this is actually for the month of December. So likely that we'll come back up and tag that. And if you do, once again, just a little bit of confluence for to see if we get a rejection here. You might have your high, low, lower high, kind of put in a little bit of a downtrend. And, overall, just look to potentially just run this range that we're in here, right? So when we're looking for, some lower areas of, interest. It would probably be like 23 cents. I know that sounds, once again, pretty rough. That's like a 40% drop from where we are now. I would say that if in the world where Bitcoin probably pulls back a little bit, like that would be where I'd look to, in that region. And anytime I'm talking about altcoins, by the way, everybody, I'm not talking about Cole. How you doing, my friend? Hey, Cole. Anytime I'm talking about altcoins, I know you may see on Twitter, I'll put up the Bitcoin and the Ethereum trades with some leverage, and generally it's like 20x or whatever. And mind you that those are only 20x because I manage that with the capital that is at hand on those exchanges, right? I don't put a lot of capital on these exchanges because it can just they can go tits up, and there's nothing I can do, right? So anything I put on those exchanges, I'm willing to lose, and I manage it in the sense of, if I was to put $50,000 in a spot trade, for example, I treat the capital I put on the exchange that way. So I'll put $2,000, $2,500, for example. I'll run it at 20x, and then I will give myself a 1.5 to 2% stop loss. So it puts me at like $400 to $600, maybe $800 of a stop loss in potential to earn 1,800, 2,000, or maybe if I even flip those up to 200 or 300% or something like that. But generally, that's how I'm playing that. And it's just for Bitcoin and Ethereum, something that has higher market cap and a little bit more liquidity, and just they don't tend, granted, ETH sometimes does not do as great of a job as Bitcoin, but Bitcoin for sure is just, you don't always have to worry about a 10 and 20% out of nowhere drop as you do with the altcoins, right? So, any of these altcoin views are like spot and hold type of buys, right? So I'm pointing out the way the market may move here, and then so that you can either prepare for it, not freak out when it happens if it happens, and then also just like I said, if you wake up and we are at 23 cents XLM, it's like, okay, well, this is the bottom of the range, essentially. So it's where we're going to find some support. We look for that bounce at the same time, vice versa. If we were just coming from where we are now at 39 cents and you bounce up to 53 and then you get a drop, it's because of these reasons here, right? So we've got some key regions just above us, a little bit below us as well. So once again, either we kind of go up first and then down, or you hit that average at 35 cents, you run it back up to about 53, and then from here we either look to flip that, rotate the range, or we look for that rejection and you come back down to the range low. So if I'm looking for some fresh, DCA areas on XLM, I'd probably begin, somewhere down in this 23 cent area. And then, like I said, there's some potential for down low again, but that's so far away, it's not relevant. And, we could not see any of that, right? So, but overall, I'd look for the 1-to-1 at 80 cents, basically is the next major target here. Which is about 100% move from where we're at. And then, from that 20 cent mark, if you hit it, like 250% move. So wouldn't be the worst, wouldn't be overnight. And I guess even if you threw a little bull flag type of deal on here, right, you got almost the same situation as XRP. So I'm sure most are looking at, right, type of deal like that, where imagine if you just kind of broke out. Once again, breakout traders are going to come in, right? Anybody looking at a flag or a channel like this, you get not very far. You come up to this region here, and then you just run it down, maybe to the bottom of that channel, something like that. But anyways, that's how I'd view and how I'd be managing XLM at the moment. It's something that's really pumped hard. So, I'm assuming you're already in this asset, and yeah, look at that, 600%. Yeah, I would. It's probably wouldn't be my first choice. The same thing as the XRP, right? And I say that not because I don't think that these assets can go higher. It's just there's just so many other opportunities. I think something that maybe hasn't broken out of these areas so aggressively. And yes, you may be able to get into something like this and buy high and sell higher, but for the most part, most people are going to try to come in something like this or XRP, and they're going to look for the 10x's, and mind you, it's already up 6, or mind you, it's XRP just pumped 5x. If you come into things like this, you have to be more aggressive with where you jump out of them, right? So even if that means from where we are now to 79 cents, and I say that because we could see the next sizable retracement from there, even though overall we had higher, and anybody that bought here is sitting pretty, right? Because you're in 10 cents. And even if we jump to 80 and we pull back to 50, you're still up 5x. But the people who are getting in, at 40, or potentially that kind of FOMO in at 53, then they got to play the game, right? For maybe several months, maybe several years. But yeah, so that's kind of a little rant there. Pump over the weekend, dump on Monday again. Are we hitting a recession? Whoops. Check the V chain. We'll take a look at V chain. What's your thoughts on INJ? Doesn't seem to have much volume. Yeah, I just actually updated INJ for a member. All right, I'm gonna take a look at V chain, INJ, and then virtuals was another one. So, all right, so V chain was and still is, I guess, one that I'm sitting in from. So similar to how somebody was probably in, or hopefully is in the one we're just looking at, XLM, from that low time frame where you're just kind of ranging sideways. This has been the buy zone for myself and anybody in the group, whatever, for the last like 2 years, right, for VeChain. And not that this is a huge move by any means, but for something that like I took the risk on to invest for and what have you, maybe a little bit more of a size. Been looking for this type of retracement, the macro 382 being the main one. Obviously, we came up, we tagged a couple of major areas here, retraced here with Bitcoin, and unfortunately, we run the risk of pulling all the way back to this region again, before we get the next sizable move up. So it really is just going to depend on Bitcoin. But overall, right? So aside from whether we kind of take off from here, we get a little bit more of a retracement again. I do target this region pretty heavily for VeChain, which is 11 cents up to 13, and then the macro gold pocket, and then up to like 20. So not that that's like new all-time highs or anything like that. And not to say that's where this would just totally top and just completely roll over for 10 years, but just taking this kind of step by step in that sense, a little level by level, and that's would be a sizable move. Like if I get to the major target for me, that's a 4x from the average. I think I averaged out in the middle of this box, so yeah, like 450%. I'd be happy with that. And once again, that's a more sizable just investment that I put in. I've already taken a little bit of profits off the table here. Nothing crazy, just enough to, maybe buy back in a little bit if we retrace all the way back to the entry, just to increase my position size. But yeah, otherwise targeting up to these areas over time. Just needs to, kind of get going here. Depends on Bitcoin. INJ. Didn't really. Somebody just mentioned that they don't have too much volume on the network. They had a really big move. What was it last year? 2020, yeah, like 23 to 24. This was a monster. So 35x ran. It's honestly, I think that's just this is just unwinding, right, from that huge impulse. So it just usually takes some time, which is generally or exactly what we're seeing here. So we've got almost a year of this ranging around, right? So from this range, targeted this little box area, which, like I said, this wasn't a big area or a big push. This was almost 100%, almost 125 if we cleared it all. It only tagged one target. This whole boxed area, there's so much sitting right here. I was wondering how we'd react up here, but yeah, just really ranging around. I would say we're probably going to range around for a bit. You got a big key level up here at the high of the range essentially. So right now you're at the point of control. So once again, this is the highest volume traded of all for the last year. This is where the most money has exchanged hands. Exactly where we're at right now. So big support there. If we lose that, not going to be a great sign, but more than likely just kind of run the lows once again. So potentially down to like 16. But otherwise, we're just in the middle of the range, and there's really nothing, leaning one way or the other here. Aside from just having a ton of things up in these regions, and we front ran a lot of them. So I bring that up because when we front run stuff like that, a lot of times, you get this huge pullback, and then you come back and take it out, right? So definitely something to be, considering, but this, we just got to get back out of this range. So you want to see this breakout, retest and reclaim of 27, basically $27 before that next move up. Otherwise, yeah, I think this is going to range around for a little bit. Just because of the move that it had, right? So I mean, I could just compare it to this. Let's just see. I know this was like the whole rally last time. Actually, that's almost exactly the same size rally. You had a 33x from, whatever, low to high back in like 2020 to 2021. And then you just kind of had this, pretty much return to the lows. So hopefully it doesn't do that. But yeah, at the moment, I would say this probably kind of ranges around a little bit. And the reason being, like I said, it just kind of unwinds these huge moves, right? You get this huge impulse up, and then you kind of have that unwind, kind of cool down period before it kind of takes off again. So there are a couple levels down here that, I guess if we were to see a similar situation where it just ranges for a bit and then just dumps out, could come down to. But for now, I wouldn't, it's kind of not very relevant at the moment. Those are some big drops. But yeah, I would just say that probably ranges for a bit. But things change when, once again, $27 is kind of the line in the sand. Flip 27, and I think we'll be looking good. All right, so virtuals. Is a newer project. So take that for what it's worth. I think it's about $3 or $4 billion market cap now, but it is, a pretty new project at the moment. So, but it is leading the way in a sense with some of the new like AI agent stuff and things of that nature. I think it's going to play a big role if it isn't already. And just looking for some key areas. It's pretty much just been like up and to the right ever since, the last few months here. But looking for any kind of a pullback area would be like down to like 230 from where we are now. So yeah, just kind of looking for some new entry points here. Targets to the upside at the moment would be pretty much back to the high, about $5, and then 634. Take a look at Bitcoin real quick. Looks like it's dropping. Yeah, so it's just spending a lot of time right here. In theory, we got to imagine that it continues lower. All right, let's see what's going on here. Thoughts on Aerodrome. I've literally all in Aero. Seeing it at 115-ish today, scary. Most entries at 80, sold at 225, and then bought back in. Pull this up real quick. Most entries at 80. Talking about Aerodrome, sold at 225, bought back in at 149, 135, 120. Going to enter again, more at $1. Let's take a look. I think I just put an update for this too. Indeed. Aerodrome. I actually don't think. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, I don't think you're gonna like this one. And I say that just like, once again, I don't know where the market's gonna go, of course, but everybody, like I said, in different positions like yourself, you've gotten in, you've sold some, you're looking to buy back in. Obviously, you've dollar cost averaged in already a little higher. You're in from lower at the same time. So just looking at this, right, you had this huge move, basically took the highs very slightly, and then got to pull back to a gold pocket. So, and what that is, right, for most probably know, but it is a Fibonacci retracement. All right. So generally, when you're looking at just this whole section of price, right, from that low up to this high, which is pretty much everything at the moment. If you were to split this up into basically saying you start at 0 and this was 100%, all right, for a fall or retracement, right? You got all kinds of different levels in here. There's 32.8%, which is the 382. And there's millions of opportunity. You could literally put a Fibonacci retracement at any point, but the common ones are, several, but the ones I use a lot are the 382, the 0.5, which is about 50%, of that price. It's not 50% retracement in the total like item asset, I guess, but it's just 50% of this area that we're looking at. And then obviously you got 75%, so on and so forth, right? So when you see any kind of breakdown of like 32, 382, or 61.8 and 65, it's 65%, 61%, so on and so forth of like an area that gets broken down. So where we are right now is the most common one you see, which is, like I said, the gold pocket, right? So that's this 0.65 and 0.618. So 61.8, almost 62%, and 65%. So you've retraced this whole move about 70% almost, right? So it is a lot. 786. A lot of people tend to look for there, which I would imagine is probably down at this area here, which is an untapped quarterly average. And then I'd put in earlier that like I said, it's no guarantee we get here, but this one right here is kind of like my stink bid at the moment, which is down at 69 cents basically. So a little bit below where you got in. I think you said you got in the 80-cent mark, and it's just if we continue lower, right? Doesn't mean we have to. You are at a major area, right, where generally we see, continuation or reversal or anything like that from. So just kind of have to see how this goes at the moment for Aerodrome, though, too, like a simple, little start to get some confirmation here of a little more of a, like we're going to reverse a bit, is that to come back up above the yearly average here, which is sitting at $1.26. So we're at $1.15 right now in the gold pocket support. Want to see us get back above 126. And then we've got 155 in our way. And if we can clear that, I think that we probably, come out of this, turn this into a little cup and handle ordeal. And then we get the move back up, right? So, and with that being said, if that does tend to be how it ends up playing out, you got next major targets above, right? It's 270. You got a 1618 expansion. So just how we look for the 618 for a retrace, you can look for a 618 expansion off the top of the price for a major target. And that comes in at 360. And then you have another one at a trend-based version at 411. So I bring those up more so just, for the idea of anybody looking to DCA in or anything like that, over time. I don't think it's going to be overnight by any means, but that's kind of where I'm targeting the next major areas here for Aerodrome, which from where we are, it's 200% plus depending. But like I said, over time, and we may see some more downside first. BTC just dropped to 87K in the CME gap, so we can run. I know, right? It is a game of patience up in these streets, folks. Unfortunately, like yesterday when Crusader and I did a stream together, I thought I said 91. I was like, man, this thing's really dropping. Yesterday when we did a stream together, we were just talking about how no matter what, no matter when, no matter how, it doesn't matter if it was back in 2022 at the lows, right now at $100,000, 92, whatever. Living out the moment in the markets is always going to be stressful. It's always going to be work. It's not going to be easy. Looking back, of course, it's like so simple to be like, man, I was just buying in the bear market and I just sell it at 100K, and it's just simple, but okay. Sean, what's going on? It's 3:00. Okay. Actually, I'm going to have to wrap this up, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. I know I'm actually really enjoying these streams here. So the Twitter and the YouTube side, I'd like to get TikTok a little higher. I know that the orientation of the screen doesn't suit that very well, but yeah, I'll try to be live again sometime tomorrow for you. If you'd like any additional content here, like I said, I've went through and I did a bunch of updates in the Discord today, including all the ones you pretty much saw here. I am going to throw the XLM one in there. I don't know if you're a member. I don't think you are a member or not. What was it? Bull Runner. But for anybody that is a member, I'll throw that in there today with a little bit more analysis behind it. If you'd like to join the Discord, of course, link is in the description info. I'm giving a 7-day free trial, so you risk-free, give it a shot, see if it's for you. I got an academy in there that covers everything and how I utilize all the tools, resources. And then, of course, I'm answering questions all day. So feel free to ask if you just have any questions. Yeah, I think I'll leave you all with that. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow for Friday, and maybe we'll have a cocktail or something, a little happy hour. Until the next time, everybody, cheers.